Borland got involved in this mess because he was the one who rushed Melly to the hospital. Now he is stuck in this mess as Melly's co-defendant, which is why Portland revealed new details about Melly that show he is as guilty as one can be. YNW Bortlen and YNW Melly were the only two who knew what really happened on that night when Sack Chaser and Julie got murked. Here's the lowdown on everything. For example, I can't tell you if I'm ducking for my life because my head is over here and my steering wheels are here. I'm trying to make sure that you understand what I'm saying, but I'm also keeping the prospect by telling you that I'm God that I am. _____ me up before this whole mess. Smelling Sack Chaser and Juve in Portland all left the recording studio together, as you can now see. Before YNW Bortlen arrived at the hospital with his two buddies who had been shot and were sitting in the back seat of his car. He was visibly shocked as the nurses began tending to the two patients. Then things start to get really suspicious when Portland can't keep his story straight about when the shooting actually occurred before Portland got all caught up in this mess and got hauled in. He hopped on IG Live with his plan being just to chat with his fans. Portland had this white shirt on when they left, but at the hospital he's rocking a black hoodie like he brought a change of clothes or something. Okay, so here's the deal with Borland and the cops. During the interrogation, they blatantly asked him if he had fired a gun. Recently, of course, he denied it. But though Borland was very clear about one thing, both he and Melly are innocent, he kept saying over and over again, like he really wanted to drill it into everyone's heads. And just to make sure his message got across loud and clear, he even posted it multiple times in the live comments. Talk about getting the word. The drama surrounding the killings of Sack has made the entire scenario especially emotional. Chaser and Juvie, the detectives, then preached to Borland on self-defense, explaining that if he shot back at someone who shot at him first, it'd be self-defense, which ain't a crime. But Portland wasn't having any of that. He kept insistent that he had nothing to do with the guns that day. Fast forward to the court proceedings. And we got the forensic team exposing the truth about the day of the shooting. That's when things get a little tricky. The forensics team decided to run tests on Portland's fingers to check if he was telling the truth or not, and guess what they found? At least 1% of gunpowder residue on his fingers. From the day of the incident, they could do this by detecting tiny amounts of antimony, a rare element found in ammo. When someone fires a gun, it creates a cloud of particles that end up on their hands. And that could be crucial evidence in a shooting case like this. So the cops use this instant shooter identification kit, so to speak, and the results are usually accurate like 90% of the time. Another way they do it is by swabbing the shooter's hand and sending those swabs to a forensic lab, regardless of whether Portland was a Protestant or not. His lies caught up with him and became a big deal in court. As you know, even the smallest lie can blow up in your face when you're in front of the judge. And when Portland tried to testify against Melly, those lies came back to bite him in the egg. No one's gonna buy your sudden change of tune. It all worked against Portland. In the end, YNW Bortlen made a court appearance on July 1st. Dude didn't tell on Melly, as many thought he'd been stuck under house arrest because he's got a clean slate compared to Melly's shady history in Borland, trying to get the judge to ease up on his house arrest conditions, like letting him hit up church and travel for shows. But no dice, judge shut that. ___ down real quick. Ever since Borland first showed up in a court, Melly's lawyer has been adamant that he can't be trusted to testify because he's a big old fat liar. And man, they really been trying to throw the blame on Borland here. But the thing is, the state of Florida ain't got squat on Melly. They're still struggling to find any solid evidence against him. So these super slick lawyers for Melly, they're trying to shift the focus away from Melly and put it all on Portland. Instead, why, we still ain't sure, man. But here's the deal, if they can pull it off, they might just save their client from that dreaded death sentence that's hanging over his head. Melly's defense team is playing all these sneaky tricks but it keeps leading back to Melly anyway. So when they were first looking into Melly and Portland, they were saying this drive-by shooting too. But guess what? The detectives dug up some fresh evidence that totally flips the script. The bullets they found in the car from the supposed drive-by, no blood on them. And get this. The bullet marks in the car don't even match up with where Sack and Juve got hit. Like, what is going on here, man? If Melly is actually responsible for the deaths of the second juvenile, and Portland decides to come forward, things are going to get very complicated very quickly. First of all, Portland might find himself in some serious trouble. He might be sentenced for aiding in the crime and lying to those detectives, wasting their precious time when you consider that he's out on bond and chilling under who now. That Melly's clever attorneys could try to claim that Portland is unreliable, since he has been telling lies since the beginning of the trial, and honestly, that might be the only evidence they have against him. Borland and his family's lives might change forever, but there's a tiny twist. When Portland lies about Melly, who is actually innocent, there is a good risk that Portland will go to jail, which might happen after Melody has already received the harshest penalty imaginable. You can bet Borland is thinking carefully before deciding to inform on Portland. In the latter hours of the trial, the defense introduced this guy named Adrian Davis to support Melly's testimony in the hopes that it would strengthen Melly's case. This entire issue is like a real-life legal chess game with high stakes and no simple moves. Adrian revealed some important information that might influence the course of events. When the defense called Adrian to testify, their only goal was to give Melly a plausible explanation for her absence. Adrian Davis testified about 3 key factors. He said Melly was in that red Mitsubishi, not at the gray Jeep Compass. Then he claimed Melly was at home when the gang got the news about Sack and Juvy's deaths. And to top it off, thirdly, he said Melly was searching for his phone because he couldn't find it. But things took a wild turn when the prosecutor got her turn to questionable Adrian. She dug up some old statements Adrian made a few years back, and surprise, they did not match with what he was saying now. Talk about how he said, she said. Showdown, the whole thing got real sketchy because Adrian could not remember his own phone numbers. And trying to act like everyone in the gang shared their phones like all the time sounds fishy to me. And everyone in the courtroom too well. Then they pulled out the classic, "I was too wasted to remember" card. But then the defense attorney grilled him. He miraculously remembered everything crystal clear, like it was yesterday. Yeah, that's not helping the correctability much, is it? The prosecutor went all in trying to make him look like a total liar. And you know what that means if Adrian can't be trusted. Medley's supposed alibi is pretty much shot to pieces, since everyone in the courtroom is trying to figure out what happened on that fateful night. The tension is rising. At this point, after weeks of drama in that courtroom, the jury was unable to reach a verdict. So guess what? It doesn't look good for Melly. It felt like a desperate move from the defense. Get ready for round 2 in that courtroom very soon. In a few months, we'll be back with a brand new grand jury and a whole new round of back and forth between the prosecutor and the defense. This is no joke for YNW Melly because he is facing the death penalty, so it's baffling. However, hold up, don't think Melly's off the hook just yet. Those prosecutors are going to give it another shot with a whole new jury. There has been an interesting development in the first Melly trial, which ended without a verdict. The jury deliberated for more than 16 hours, but they were unable to reach a consensus. However, things got even crazier when one of the jurors revealed what transpired during their deliberations to Local10.com. Apparently, there was one juror who had a grudge against another juror from the beginning. And at one point, she simply folded her arms and said, "I'm done." The case. Local 10 reports that this juror was determined to convict Melly from the start. She pretended to be cool during voir dire, saying she could put her feelings about the legal system aside. But it turned out she couldn't keep that promise during deliberations. It was a roller coaster of an experience, to put it mildly. And those jurors won't soon forget this wild experience, or that juror. Another juror tried to convince her to open up and put her feelings aside, but she went manipulative on the final day of deliberations. The jury was 11-1 in favor of convicting Melly of manslaughter when this woman pulled two other jurors to her side and abruptly announced that they had changed their minds. When another juror dared to question why she was speaking